Hello, and welcome to my video. Today I will be talking about the common purposes for developing writing systems in ancient cultures. Today, text messages can reach from one side of the planet to the other in less than a second and are used for things as trivial as describing a face you saw on a potato chip. But do you know the origins of written language and how important that was to the development of human society? Ever since I was little, I have had a keen interest in the written word. In recent years, I have become extremely interested in learning about how various languages around the world are formed. I took a course in Japanese with the hopes of earning a degree in foreign language someday. I hope I can use my knowledge to show what is fascinating about the development of languages. Understanding the languages that existed in ancient times may help with understanding the similarities and differences between modern languages. Most languages today, such as English, are written with alphabet systems which use symbols to represent small segments of words. Several modern Asian languages are still based on logographic systems, which use complex symbols to represent entire words and concepts. These differences between alphabetic and logographic systems are what makes learning certain languages, like Chinese, so difficult for native English speakers. This presentation aims to inform you about 4 of the earliest known examples of writing, so that it is easier to understand why civilizations developed written languages for keeping records. Let's start with writings from the earliest civilization, Sumer. Some of the earliest examples of writing are cuneiform tablets from the Mesopotamian city-state of Sumer. Cuneiform means wedge-shaped and refers to the triangle impression left behind by pushing the cut end of a river reed into clay. While it was a standardized form of writing, cuneiform was not unique to one language. It was used by many different cultures over approximately 3,000 years. Cuneiform was used to write Sumerian, Akkadian, Babylonian, Assyrian, Elamite, Hittite, and Old Persian languages. Most early clay tablets have been discovered in the ancient city of Uruk, which is in the area of modern-day Iraq. The earliest writings are from about 3200 BCE and were used to record goods that were transported to and from the temples. This tablet has the symbols for cup and eat and is a record of how much beer was paid to some laborers. Cuneiform writings were used for recording laws, letters, maps, religious edicts, and medical recipes. This is an example of a map written with cuneiform in Babylon. Now let's look at Egypt, where they developed writing at about the same time. Writing in Egypt occurred in the same era as cuneiform and was used for similar purposes. Hieroglyphs were mainly used for religious purposes and formal inscriptions placed on temples and statues. The word hieroglyph comes from the Greek words hieros and glyphein, which means holy writing. Egyptians called it Medu Neter, which means the gods' words. Hieroglyphs were made up of 3 types of symbols used together to create complex designs. Logograms were used to represent words. Phonograms were used to represent sounds. Determinatives were used at the ends of sentences to clarify meanings. 2 other written languages existed in Egypt at the same time but were used for different purposes than hieroglyphs. Hieratic was considered the priestly script and was used by priests to write decrees, manuscripts, and describe paintings. Demotic was used for everything else, including secular topics such as count, origin, and ownership of goods. Egyptian writings were used on a variety of writing materials. Papyrus was first used around 3000 BCE. Other mediums used included stone, clay, wood, bone, metal, leather, ceramic, and ivory. Now let's explore the early writings of faraway China. The earliest examples of writing that have been discovered in China are the inscriptions found on oracle bones. Chinese oracle bones were used to predict the future. The bulk of oracle bones that have been discovered were from the Shang dynasty from about 1600 to 1046 BCE. Ox and sheep shoulder blades, like the one up here, were used the most often, and also the bottom shell of tortoises, which are called plastrons. These bones and shells were used in pyromancy, a form of divination using fire. Diviners would use ink to write a question, 2 answers, their name, and the date on the piece of shell or bone. The questions asked on a variety of topics include sacrifices, divine assistance, sickness, childbirth, disasters, dreams, military campaigns, agriculture, hunting, and fortunes. The inked writings would then be carefully etched. The final step was to heat the bone or shell, often with a hot iron, until it cracked towards one of the answers, which the diviner would then analyze. This prediction of the future was seen as receiving communications from deceased ancestors. Oracle bones were not the only unique writing feature in China. Evidence has been found of ink writings on bamboo or wooden slats. Over 4,600 Chinese characters have been found, but only about 1,300 have been deciphered. Chinese writing was and still is logographic, with each character representing a whole word or idea. Let's explore an early writing language that started in the isolated American continents, away from Eurasian influences. Several forms of writing existed in ancient Mesoamerica, but the only one that has been deciphered enough to read is Mayan. Mayan pictographs date to approximately 300 BCE, but are based on less complex languages that came before them. About 1,000 Mayan symbols have been discovered. Only about 75% of those have been deciphered so far. The Mayan writings are comprised of 3 different symbol systems used together. Pictographs are used to represent tangible objects. Ideograms represent abstract ideas such as actions. Phonetic glyphs represent sounds. Most Mayan writings have been found engraved on stone monuments, altars, architecture, and pottery. A few painted writings have been found in caves and important buildings. There is evidence of ink writings being made on bark paper books, but because of the harsh environment, only 3 of these are known to have survived and now reside in European museums. Most of the writings are descriptions of astronomical events, calendars, and about the lives of kings and queens, not the mundane events of the peasantry. This presentation has shown only a small fraction of the writings that scientists continue to uncover, study, and use to shed light on the development of languages over time. Understanding the reasons and methods for developing systems of writing in ancient history provides insight into the similar reasons that cultures use writing even today, keeping records and clarifying communications. Most ancient languages used tiny pictures to represent ideas, and somewhere along the line we developed alphabets to form more complex ideas. But maybe we should take our cue from the latest generation and return to the warmth and emotion that tiny pictures can communicate.